and does it along with her live performances. Some of it is shot in the middle of the night. So a lot of what we're seeing, she's tired. She's already performed at the Folies Bergère. She's already been at her club. So, it's 3 a.m. and so forth. But they really, the studios were newly built for this film. So they're trying to, give it the best, because it's Josephine Baker. It's someone who's famous and that they're trying to court and to capitalize on at the same time. But I think there are a number of factors, I think, that make her famous in Paris. Part of it is that she's, is that the I don't know how to put it, but the value around Blackness is different, that it permits a certain kind of pleasure and playfulness and experimentation. People are thinking about jazz. There's a way that the French would embrace African Americans as a way of kind of getting out of their own thing, with colonialism and what they were doing in Africa and in the Caribbean. So there is like that element of a pawn in a larger story, and Baker was unique, and and the performers around her were unique in and of themselves, but they were extraordinary. If you can see particularly I think in that last show, or the last 20 minutes or so at the theater, where there's the chorus line, like that's what people are looking at. They're looking at a very I don't know if rigid is the right word, but people are moving in really contained ways. And then she comes out on the stage, and she's bent over, she's kicking up, there are feathers, her outfit is shiny, there's just a lot going on. And part of that is her aesthetic, part of that is her aesthetic being remade in this like colonial fantasy that she's in, or that she walks into. So there's just kind of a lot, I think, going on with her, that I think I agree with Mo, like you don't want to flatten it out too much and romanticize what's happening. It's a really complex, dynamic that's going on in Paris, that obviously people are benefiting from it, enjoying it. It's definitely better than lynching, but that's a low bar. There's definitely other complex and difficult dynamics that they're negotiating at the same time. Yeah, no. Well, I don't know. I think the fashion of the 20s was fashionable. That's Art Deco. It's art. That was the leading edge of, that was modernity. And she wore the best. That sequence, I think who said that, yeah, she was it is retelling her story or fictionalizing her story. Those sequences where she's getting fitted for shoes, she's choosing her dresses, that was very much, her life. So, yeah.
I actually thought the outfits were gorgeous, and it was so good to see them move, and also just to see them live, not just on paper.
So often that's what we're looking at, right? Or drawings or photographs, but we're seeing them animated. And Baker too. I think we're used to seeing her either in just a short clip, 20 seconds or a 2-minute video of something, or a photograph, but to see her animated, her eyes, her lips, her expression, her body, she's just so gangly kind of. It's a very sexy, and all of those things. It's kind of amazing to see her in motion. Yeah.
Was the tinting added?
Girl, there wasn't no mixed audiences watching that in 1927.
Bro.
A whole lot of folks would have been shot.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't think there were mixed audiences. That's how Jim Crow works. But I can say that this film circulated with race films, Black independent films of the 20s. And and at the same time, they were kind of in between those films. I'm thinking of Oscar Michaud, and if you guys have already screened his silent work, Oscar Michaud's films, but also the kind of about to be Hollywood films like Hallelujah with Nina Mae McKinney, or it just went out of my head, where they're all in heaven. It's a black cast musical. It'll come back to me in a second. But so it played in New York. It went down to Baltimore, Chicago. It really moved around the country in that kind of circuit. Yeah. Oh, I think no, Cabin in the Sky isn't. Not that I know of. I was interested in it showing to black audiences, and how it was reported in the black press, and that was mostly in the North and Midwest. There was a premiere. She didn't come for that, but there was a premiere with music with in Harlem.
That's a good story. Question. I think she was just improvising, and just doing, what felt good, like just playing around. I'm sure there was some structure to it, but I don't think she worked with a choreographer. I think she was her own artistic genius.
And she had been. She performed dances that she had been performing since she was a teenager, in St. Louis and on the different circuits where she performed and in New York. So you're seeing the Charleston, you're seeing the Black Bottom, you're seeing, and then she makes up that sort of ballerina twirl. The Crossing of the Eyes, Rubber Legs. So she has kind of a repertoire of movements that she establishes in her performances. And when you watch her across different films, she does them repeatedly. But they both get her dancing gets interpreted through a kind of colonialist lens, but the dancing, even the vernacular American dancing that she's doing has Africanist origins to it. So like the bent knees, and some of the other kind of angles that she takes, the flat foot, those are all kind of coming from a much more ancient place than even the Charleston.
You notice the movement is very asymmetric, and even her costumes were also asymmetric, sort of bent in that sort of way. Even you look at her old photographs, it's that way. And I think she's, inspired movement. She sort of changed the way that we experience movement today.
There was a moment in the movie that I really dug. The drummer, there was a Baba drumming, and he had to have been someone that they just, from wherever they shot this movie, like he was from that place, and he was drumming, and everybody else was trying to act, and he was not acting. he was looking at Josephine like, "Girl, what you doing? Okay, that's like it's right, but it's right, but it's what you." It was so much story in his face. He was like, "All right, because you keeping time, but I never seen nothing like this." It would make me think, boy, what would it be for us to unpack it and to our young pianist, like what would, if you were given the opportunity to score a modern version of this, like we upgrade it, and then like what would your soundtrack be?
Ooh, given the music that a lot of kids of my generation are listening to today, I honestly can't give you a straight answer on that. I personally would score it with lots of like, I don't know, house music or something, just in the disco, like stuff like that, because those styles developed in my city, hometown of Chicago, and those are like traditional, like, I mean, for me, it's like black music, so. Steppin', yeah, steppers cuts for sure, absolutely, stuff like that.
That one's a little tough. I didn't grow up in Chicago, so.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up here.
Okay, so what would you bring to it?
So, see, there's not really a lot of Hispanic features. I mean, of course, like they can be added, like from the dances that she does. If anything, probably when she's dancing in that scene that you're talking about with the native drummer, I'd probably like play more Caribbean authentic music, because that's like part of my culture. I'm half Haitian, so like I could definitely see her like integrating well with that.
Right. And then I thought, so hold on to that, those of you who raise funds for these things. And then I just started watching the movie, and I just thought, these two women are tripping over this dude. Who, like, I was just like, and he's not done anything exceptional. To be like, so why are they both? Why did she just shoot the dude? Like, when she was climbing the tree, I was thinking, where's she? What?
He saved her. He saved her from the attack
Right.
of the. Yeah. So I mean, that's why she was enamored with him right away. He defended her.
But the group, like you stole away, like you swam on.
The swimming onto the boat. Yeah, it's interesting. That was actually
Yeah, it was
one
kinda
of the,
overkill.
Little much.
Yeah, that was actually one of the critiques.
Had on her, she would have been sinking to the bottom.
One of the critiques of the film, like the Black cinephile community wrote a lot about Siren of the Tropics when it came out, and one of their critiques was that Baker's character Pepito is much too in love with this person, who is making almost no effort to court her at all, other than basic human decency, to stop this attack. And so they really felt like she was being too servile to him, especially with her with this character being played by someone who was a big star. So they felt like the race politics got in the way of the film being what they wanted and what it might have been.
And then what made that world crazy? The colonizers, like you want to get out of there because they've totally transformed the world. But it also made me, again, along with asking these young musicians and composers how they would reinterpret a modern version of this, I would love to hear women and young women like given this plot and go like, all right, remix this and what would be more authentic for you, and then what do we have? Because again, we take the title Siren of the Tropics. So if we take the mythological origins of sirens, it's like it's so. It veers off into the patriarchy because the siren is leading you into disaster, right? It's leading the man into disaster. So again, what would be the remix that we would leave for 2127?
Yeah, I don't think anybody would release this ever.
Not
again,
this film,
or
but look at it and go, let's do a modern version of now that knowing what we all know now. How would we still pay homage to Josephine, or maybe not? But we would pay homage because she's the inspiration.
Well, I think I honestly feel like that's what we're doing by having this conversation. I think we're the modern remake, in that like the music that you guys created and bringing all of these, your composition and the compositions together, to me kind of formed a witness for the film and a new kind of presence and audience that allow the rest of us to participate in it. And I think also maybe to sit with the conundrum of this star that is in a movie that is maybe not good enough for her, but that is the work that she did. She is the first Black woman to star in a feature film, and that's a really important accomplishment. And I didn't do that. Did you do that? She did that, right? I mean, she did in 1927. She stepped out and did that, and that's an important historical marker. That's a huge shift. It should shift the way we think about Black film. This is an African American woman performing in France. The film does travel back to the U.S. Some of the early African-American films that we celebrate by Michaud are also European in the sense that the prints were lost for many years and then found in Spain and in Belgium with Flemish titles, with Spanish titles, and actually had to be translated back. So she's really this way that appreciating the conundrum of her awesomeness in a not awesome movie really helps us to rethink, the breadth of Black film and all of our film heritage, but also to appreciate the risks. It's fine to be vulnerable and awesome and risk, and some of it works out and some of it doesn't. I think we have to be able to sit with that.
Is still the impact exists today in our ability to exhibit it. And that's something that we need to continue. That, I think, for me personally, that's the next conversation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. And let's bring that to light, and let's make sure that distributors know that we're thinking about it and talking about it, and that it's not okay.
Yeah, and I actually can say just a quick word on that. So it's the other Baker film, this one, Princess Tam Tam and Zuzu, were all films that were, they were around but basically considered lost, but also no one was looking for them. The prints were in France at the Cinémathèque Française, and they were transferred to the George Eastman House in upstate New York, and in Rochester, New York. Okay, thank you. And it was Christopher Horak, an archivist. He was a younger archivist at the time, who recognized Baker, spotted Baker, and worked on the physical preservation of these films, like in the 80s. And then those are the prints that Kino transferred to DVD in the 80s and that traveled around. And so there's a way in which Baker's films are still to be discovered. They're still new films. They still haven't found their audiences. And the fact that this is playing here now is a debut. It's an incredibly significant moment for us to be able to see it and for the film to be seen. But it's the work of archivists, and that was just that one person who just worked on it, recognized it, worked on it, and helped to create its importance. And then all of us, I think, seeing it and working on animating appreciation for the film to continue it.
I think that's a wonderful way for us to end the evening. Would you agree? Thank you, friends. It was an honor to be here.